Hello, and welcome to another episode of Friday with the Chakontas. I am Mr. Chakonta,
And I'm Mrs. Chakonta.
and we're continuing with our series of FWTC Reacts.
Yes, thank you so much to those who've been listening to our podcasts and those who've engaged in conversations with us. Thank you so much to those who subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe if you've been listening and liking what you listen. But if this is the first time you're joining us, obviously feel free to listen to the podcast, and if you like it, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe.
So that's pretty much it. And so what do we have for today?
All right, today we have an interesting story, so I'm going to read it out. It goes like this. He lost his Sorry, I started in the middle of it. I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. So it goes like this.
Yeah.
My fiancé is a widower.
Mm-hmm.
He lost his wife 10 years ago. He has 2 grown sons. He is semi-retired and works part-time. He is very close to his mother-in-law and helps her out any way he can. The mother-in-law has a daughter and son-in-law and 4 adult grandchildren. Over the course of our relationship, I have noticed that he and his mother-in-law are extremely close. She's 85 years old and has some health issues. She is legally blind and lives alone. She cannot drive and depends on the graciousness of family or friends to help her. Whenever she needs any kind of help, she will reach out to him before she calls her own daughter. He lives just 5 minutes from her. Every Sunday, he takes her to Sunday school, then church, and out to lunch. This is a routine that started years ago. Since we began our relationship, I have made requests for him to attend church service with me, not every Sunday, but occasionally. He apologizes and tells me that he promised the mother-in-law that he will take her to church and then somewhere out to lunch. When she is unable to attend services, then he will accompany me. Currently, we're making plans to move out of our area to another city, approximately 90 miles away. During a recent discussion about where to live, he brought up his mother-in-law and stated that she is getting older and will be needing more of my help, so I can't be too far away. Bear in mind, his mother-in-law has a daughter and friends who have offered to help her, but she tells him that she doesn't want to be an imposition on her friends or as far as asking help from her daughter. She is not a caregiver and they don't have a close relationship. I have sensed some frustration in his voice when he wants to get out of town to go hiking or attend church with me. He told me once, I tried to make plans and she asked me to take her to church, then lunch. She knows that her friends have offered to take her, but she says she doesn't want to impose on them, but she doesn't mind imposing on me. My fiancé is a kind and generous soul and has a big heart. He loves helping people and helped me out when I was caring for my elderly father. I love that about him. I don't know if I should just back off, or am I being selfish?
3, go.
So what do you think, babe?
There's quite a bit of what's happening. So you said grandchildren or grandchildren?
Both. So has
He's got grandchildren or grandchildren?
No, the mother-in-law has children and grown-up grandchildren, but we don't know how old the grown-up grandchildren are. I'm assuming they're over 18.
From him?
Oh no, well we don't know because she does say that he has 2 grown sons, and then and then the mother-in-law has a daughter and son-in-law, so the daughter is married, and 4 adult grandchildren. So whether the 4 adult grandchildren are there must be like maybe 2 or they or 4 from the daughter. I'm not sure.
So what's her biggest problem is that he's so invested in his mother-in-law?
Yes, I think so.
It's hard. It's a hard thing because I don't know if he's doing anything wrong or I don't know, especially now that they have become. I think the only thing I'll probably challenge is now that he's getting into a new relationship and he's now committing in the sense of her being the fiancé.
Yeah.
There has to be a level of commitment, especially like when the aspects of now going to church. I think he now has to find a way of how he needs to communicate that to his old mother-in-law and saying he's now invested into this new relationship.
Yeah.
So I think there's a sense of where over the years, I think the relationship has grown.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think also maybe sometimes also even like sometimes maybe even just through the aspect of the both losing somebody. That can be also another aspect of where they're bonding.
They bonded over that.
They bond over those things.
Mhm.
And I don't think there's anything wrong for him to basically say, oh, don't go to your mother-in-law. I think over time, to be honest, if they were married for a very long time, that mother-in-law can actually now become like a mother.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think she also needs to understand that it's just not because on the side of, or because that's your
It's the mother-in-law.
your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Is that's like your mother.
Mm.
So she's now considering him as also a son. And I think even on the other side, there's nothing wrong with her basically saying she's more comfortable with him doing certain things than
The other children.
the other children, because we don't have an idea of how long they were married. So
Yeah.
we don't know. But I think
That's
there's
true.
also, when we're looking at it from the other side, it's like that's just your mother-in-law. But we're not seeing the dynamics of when, I think we also say like when ideally when marriages take place, you're bonding, you're bringing other people into the mix from your side, his side, and then you're now blending that family together.
Yeah.
And the way people fit into those scenarios, we don't fully understand them. And I think different families have got different dynamics.
Yeah.
From like maybe our cultural side is very with in-laws, it takes time. I'm not saying for everyone. Other people is different. Other people are very open and very welcoming and very not so distant to their in-laws. But I think some people are more of on the distant side, and we other cultures are very different. Especially like we're maybe reading this story as from the Western culture, right? So we're saying maybe they're more relaxed and they're more open to having those close relationships.
Yeah.
That's off the top of my head. So yeah, what do you have any ideas of when you look at the story?
I think what you've said is so right, because I think at the beginning I was just thinking, but this just is not sounding right. But actually, you're so right in a sense of, like he's probably now become a son, like a son.
Yeah.
And it'll be good if she saw it that way, like that's his real mum.
Yeah.
Maybe she wouldn't, in some areas, she wouldn't be as frustrated. Although there are elements where she says, I understand. I think she's understanding.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to other things, it's almost like he's a bit too much.
Yeah.
And I think it is difficult when dealing with something like that, because it does show, like she said, when you have a husband who is loving and caring, or a fiance in this scenario,
Yeah.
There's certain qualities that she loved about him, but it's not just towards her. He also does that to other people.
Yeah.
So in one way, it's like a bittersweet, where you're like, oh, I love this part about him, but sometimes it can be too much. But if it's you receiving it, you don't always feel like it's too much. You're like, yeah, I can have some more.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see where I'm getting at. So it can be, it is a very difficult one, but I think your point of allowing her to really understand that relationship, and understanding where they're at and how they've come to have this relationship. But then also for him, because you've mentioned a very important part, like for them, if they're now fiancé, they should ideally now be going to the same church. They should, or when they get married, that should be something that they're planning on doing.
Yeah.
Creating an environment where you're both in unity.
Yeah.
And the fact that I wonder if the mother-in-law knows about this woman.
Yeah.
Because then maybe some things they could do together.
Yeah.
But then also I think the mother-in-law has to also understand that he's moved on in that respect. Like, she should also let go of him in an area, and also encourage him and be like, oh, you've got a fiance, okay, you should bring her to church, or okay, have you decided which church you want to go to, and also not be too dependent on him. But I think when you think of somebody who's 85, you have different you know, like you can have a lot of people who are 85 and they all present differently.
Yeah.
You know, and for her, you know, she has needs that we know of based on this, of like, you know, guidance and taking her somewhere.
Yeah. But she said she's what, legally blind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but in that, I think because of his personality,
Mhm.
that can be one of the other reasons she warms up to him easily.
Yeah.
Because maybe he doesn't show his frustration like other people.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've ever been in a situation when you're in need.
Yeah.
When you see that person that you're relying on showing frustration or irritation, even though it might be well placed, because sometimes it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
You really struggle to reach out to them.
Yeah.
You withhold. Whereas when you have people who willingly or who show you that they're with you 100%, it's easier when you're in a situation of need to seek help from them continuously.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a situation where maybe her daughter used to be a bit more, used to be the one who was more involved, and everybody else has not been as involved. I know I'm going round and round in circles, but I'm just trying to picture it and trying to understand where the mother-in-law is also coming from. But this is really important because when you now have somebody who you're all giving care to as a family, just because one person does, but I feel like at some point the daughter might have offered, but then she says no, she'd rather the son-in-law does it. I don't know where it was.
I think also on this side, I think maybe it's like where someone is writing something, she's getting information from either somebody else. So the way that information is disseminated may not be the right, correct way. So let's say, for example, when he asks, maybe she asks, what about her own children? Can they help? And then he's basically saying, oh, she said she's more comfortable with me.
Yeah.
But then I don't think maybe she said that. Maybe like with passing, she's just like, oh, when I'm with you, it's very easy or something like that. It's just like she's basically trying to show her appreciation.
Okay, that's a good point.
In a way of just saying she's finding it much easier.
Yeah.
In a certain way. And maybe we don't know her relationship with her other daughter and how it is. But also maybe even when her other daughter was there, maybe they helped, both of them helped a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's also another side, like maybe on her side where she needs to look at it, where she's saying, what's her question? Is she what?
No, is she selfish?
There's a bit of selfishness, I think.
Really?
I think on this side of where like, look, I think this is the situation that we're looking at. I think for her, she's just saying she's got other children. But I think for her, it's like she's making so many plans of trying to separate him away from her. And he's always coming back and saying, I'm thinking about her. And the thought of her is not just because she's my mother-in-law, but she also has health conditions. And he's been invested in the aspects of helping her out. So when the new person who is coming in, she also needs to understand all those things. So it's also on his side, he needs to, while they were courting or anything like that, what's the word I'm looking for? Need to be able to share that information, of, oh, this is what I do on my day-to-day. I help my mother-in-law and she's this and that and that. She's somebody who's very special in my life. I'll do another stuff in my day-to-day life. But also on her side, I think he may even have said that, but for her, she never knew the dynamics of what it is.
True. How involved he is.
How involved it is. But I think when she's always trying to make all these decisions, it comes out a bit selfish, especially when somebody who is, I think, vulnerable. This is the vulnerable state this woman is in. And I think her just basically saying, we're going to move 90 miles away from here.
No, but I don't think I think she said we have decided. So I don't think that necessarily means she's the one, because he also has the right to say yes or no, because 90 miles away is very far.
Yeah.
So like if you're going to drive, that's about a good 2-3, I don't know. Yeah, 2-3 hours drive.
Yeah.
So that is quite far for him to be able to be doing this weekly Sunday thing.
Yeah.
So I think if maybe, for example, they're moving away and they know in a few months they're moving away, I would say, and you've agreed that you're going to be going to a church nearer to where you're moving to, then I would say the battle is not worth fighting for now. Let them enjoy their time.
Yeah.
But I actually don't think she's being selfish, because I don't know, I've imagined the situation, because he works part-time. So that also helps suggest that he's got a bit more time on his hands. But it also depends on how much time he gives her as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's being selfish. I think when you're a caregiver, there is a lot of care that you give. And I think if you have a family who have able-bodied people to help, that helps to shed the weight. Or she shed, what's the word? To share the load. So if she must require driving to a lot, because he says driving to appointments or for shopping or cleaning or cooking. I think it's really important as a family to come together and say, okay, these are our mother's needs.
Yeah.
How can we best help each other to facilitate these needs?
Yeah.
And not just because one person, because there are people who are a bit more proactive than others.
Yeah.
There are people who would rather just continue their life and then visit their mum once a week, once a month, once every few months.
Yeah.
And they feel that that's enough. But then you've got the sibling who is always there, who is happy to always be there. But that doesn't necessarily mean that should be the case. It can become a lot.
Yeah.
And it can become frustrating for the fiancé as well, because she said she sensed the frustration in him sometimes. And then I think because he's got such a generous heart, he's just like, it's okay. It's fine. I'm not going to think too. But it would be nice if he can go hiking. If a weekend comes and he can just say, oh, this weekend I can't take mum to church. Which one is any one of you available to do it? Or there's a rota that says once a week, once a month I do it. The other month this person. I think it is easier, as I said before, for the person who receives the care to warm up to somebody who clearly shows that this person does not mind. But then I think as a family, you also need to sit down and say, our mom, our dad is needing more help. How can we share this? Who does the cooking? Who does the laundry? Who does the washing? And not just leaving it to one person. And we don't know what else, because the cooking, she might be able to do her own cooking. She might be.
What do you understand by legally blind?
No, but
maybe you need to explain that.
No, like if you are legally blind, you are registered as legally blind, but that doesn't mean you can't do things.
As in, because what I'm thinking is like, you've got not sight. As in,
so your sight might be very, very blurred, or it might be that you just see complete blackness. And then you're registered as legally blind, but that does not mean that you can't do things.
Okay.
So you can bathe yourself. Your house can be adapted in a way that's user friendly for you.
Yeah.
So that you can do certain things. I'm pretty sure in these days in this day and age.
Yeah.
You probably have microwaves where it doesn't always have to be braille. Like you can read it with braille, or maybe she became blind at a later stage, because there's different. Some people are born blind, some people become blind at a later stage. So let's say you and I already live in this house, and then later on we become blind. We already know what's in the corners of the house, where to go. So she might be able to be independent and use certain things. She could use a washing machine. She can use a dryer.
But
and things like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean you don't always have to. It's not all your activities of daily living that you need help with.
Yeah, but do you think that there are only specific things that she wants help with?
From what it sounds like, the biggest thing is driving, because obviously she can't drive. So it's taking her to church, or maybe shopping. Who knows? You can probably do it online and get it delivered, or they can go to the shops together. Sorry. So at this point in time, it seems that the main thing is Sunday.
Yeah. But
I think he does have he needs to. I don't necessarily think she's being selfish. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think that there are areas in where she maybe is being selfish, because they're going to her church. Maybe they can go to the mother-in-law's church, so therefore he's not
as in
always.
Maybe, I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I think for her, maybe this is what I look at. If I may be wrong on this. Maybe I see this. Like we see the attitude of Ruth in the Bible, where she uproots herself and follows Naomi, and becomes an aspect of where Naomi becomes she becomes the caregiver for Naomi. In whatever she does, she's basically now living for her and Naomi. And we see that even when now Boaz comes into the situation, he's actually loves what she has actually done for her mother-in-law, not left her in a position of where she was vulnerable, came with her and all that stuff and lived with her. She even said in the statement, your people will be my people, your God will be my God. And with that situation, I see a certain element of this guy basically saying, you are part of my people. I am dedicated to you. And even in your vulnerability, I'm not going to leave you alone. And I think even that attitude, I think on her side, where she's now complaining, is also on the side of where he's saying, if it's not consistent in other aspects of life, because he is also showing that to her side and her parents. Because she said, she said something about her dad not being well, right?
Her dad?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember
She
that.
said something when my dad was not well, he helped or something like that.
Oh, I don't remember that. Oh, where's my memory gone? Oh my.
Yeah, just scroll through that and read. Yeah. So she said he's a generous soul when where I may be thinking about something else. Yeah.
No, I don't think. No, she said he loves helping people and helped me out when I was caring for my elderly father.
Yes. So yeah, that part. So yeah, she's like saying that that's his personality, and his personality also extends not only to his mother-in-law, but he also
helped her with her dad.
That's true. Yeah. And I think it's just his personality, and I think she needs to understand this. Especially like sometimes you can see like where she's saying that he comes out a bit frustrated. But this is where I'm saying, like, when we now talk about it from a godly perspective, there are a lot of things as us as believers will do that will frustrate us. But the main thing that should drive us to do whatever we do should be to the glory of God. And even those things, like certain things, like let's say, for example, if we are wanting to be hospitable. Yeah. Hospitality means that it makes you're not, what's the word? You have to be very open.
Yeah.
In the sense of where anybody can come into the house and everything like that. And that also it challenges your day to day because you're not as relaxed as you need to be. That is another side of, but you're doing that hospitality to the glory of God. And there are certain things, when you're doing certain things, you may not enjoy them, but God is being honored by this. In the same way, like let's say for him, what he's doing is an honorable thing. And basically, if I'm seeing it from this perspective of where they're actually mentioning in church, I'm assuming that they're believers. And if as believers, the girl, especially the woman who's now coming into this new family, she should also exemplify certain godly characters, especially when she's seen her future husband exhibiting these things. And I think she should be able to, that's what I'm saying, that selfishness is not something that we should try to always drive to for the sake of us. We should always try, if we're trying to do certain things, it should always to be the sake of other people. And I think that's what their marriage should be built on. Now, I think when she's making these decisions of saying this woman is in need, and let's say, for example, if her children have neglected her and they want to, but here they're saying that her comments is that they've want
tried to help, but she
prefers his help. And I think sometimes even when people are getting older, it's like you also need to understand, like they like certain people who are more, what's that called? More friendly with
gentle,
them, more gentle, because some people even though they're helping,
you don't see it.
Yeah, their frustration comes out. Yeah, they're just like, they're very sharp. their words, and they can show irritation.
And this
even
guy
have,
sounds like he's really not, and it sounds like he just generally comes from the heart.
Yeah, and also her friends, like sometimes she just feel like maybe I'm bothering them too much.
Maybe they're busy, they're working full time, and maybe because he works part time, she finds it easier to ask him, thinking, oh well, he might have a bit more time on his hands. And maybe they just enjoy each other's company as well.
Yeah,
they can be friends, and do you know what I mean? Like with your children, might be a bit different.
So but I think it's not also on the other side. It's not that she has to always now look at it as it just has to be him.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think the family has a role in also looking to see how else they can help.
Yeah.
And then also, and I think he also has to have some boundaries, maybe. Maybe sometimes he fears to say, oh, I'm really sorry, Mom, I can't help you today because I've already got plans. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Jess if Jess can help you. You know, like Jess is just a fake name. Like I'm going to ask you know, and I think maybe he doesn't set those boundaries. Like, no, and I think these are healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries where actually there might be times where, you know, if he wants to go away, that he can plan it ahead. But maybe he's also one of those people, he's so nice, but sometimes being too nice can be a bit of a problem, because then you feel bad to make plans for yourself because you know that, okay, maybe, you know, he wants to go hiking for the weekend, but on a Sunday, he has to be back on Saturday. So he's like, oh, what's the point? But actually, it's okay for him to say, I won't be able to take you to church on this weekend, on this day. Like, and maybe, you know, he feels like he's made a promise, or maybe he made a promise to his wife. You don't know, to say, I'll look after her, don't worry. So there's a lot of emotions. But I think also him having those healthy, loving boundaries where he's able to also look after himself. And he's found and to be fair, she sounds nice. I don't think she sounds like, you know, I don't want him to do anything, because I think these examples are quite good examples of saying, oh, at times when I want him to come to church on a Sunday with me, you know, it's not like, oh, I just want to hang out with him, or I just want to, I don't know, it might be the same, but I don't read her as being mean. I kind of read her as being nice, but just realizing that, okay, this man, he uses a lot of his time for his mother-in-law when some of that time can be shared with her other children and has grown up grandchildren as well. So his sons as well. So he can say, oh, he can ask his sons and say, oh, grandma needs taken to church on Sunday. Can you take her to church? Or she's got an appointment on this day. If they're all grown up, you can ask.
Yeah.
You know? So I think he needs to look after himself as well and help. And he's entering, and he has to also recognize he's entering a new relationship.
Yeah, but I think
this is a bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's leaving and cleaving again.
Yeah,
basically.
And that's true. Yeah.
And so he is now needing to set some structures or restructuring of his home.
Yeah.
So he's already moving away. Okay, how does he leave and cleave, but still show his love towards his family?
Yeah. And I think, maybe it's also, I think she also has to find a way of how to communicate this.
Yeah.
And, firstly, understanding in a loving way, understanding that this indeed is his dynamics of life, and how do they now navigate that dynamics of life moving forward. I maybe with the 90 miles an hour, where
90 miles an hour.
I mean, the 90 miles away. Yeah. Thinking about driving a car, I'm just like, okay, that's fast.
Yeah.
90 miles away. Is it both of them deciding, or is her deciding that they have to move there?
She said we, so I'm assuming they're in agreement.
But he said he can't do that.
No, he didn't say. He said I don't want to be too. He said we are making plans to move out of our area to another city, approximately 90 miles away.
Yeah.
During a recent discussion about where to live, he brought up his mother-in-law and stated that she is getting older and will be needing more of my help, so I can't be too far away. Yeah,
but I think she wanted to. What's that?
No, I think it's just part of the conversation, saying, okay, but you know what? I don't mind moving to, you know, we're in, I don't know, whatever city, we're in London. I don't mind moving to Kent, but I don't really want to move to Southampton or Brighton or Portsmouth or something, because I think that's a bit too far. Yeah. I want to live in, because even when you're deciding to move houses, we do have these discussions, like how far are you willing to move? Okay, I don't want to move I don't really see as, I think he's just stating that look, I do have commitments that I want to still continue to be able to attend to.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too far away.
Yeah. Okay, to be honest, I think he's being honest with her.
Yeah.
And telling her what's going on. I think maybe she's not being honest on how she feels. And I think maybe she's coming to this platform to ask, are her feelings justifiable? Maybe she is feeling a bit frustrated. And maybe she's feeling a certain way and she doesn't know how to communicate those feelings. And she may feel the situation is a bit delicate. And the delicateness of the situation means if I bring this up, is it me being insensitive? But I think it's also good for her to just voice what she's feeling.
Yeah.
But also find ways of how to address it in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
That when they're moving forward, at least they can be on the same page.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Because I think she also needs to understand it's selfish in the sense of she wants maybe more time. She wants A, B, C, D. She wants a certain aspect of where she wants that attention to be solely on her. But especially now that they're in the process of being engaged, being whatever, being married and all that stuff, and they're trying to build a family together.
Yeah.
But I think she also needs to understand that she needs to put that aspect of need and want in a proper perspective.
Yeah.
In trying to say, okay, how do I do it in a way that's not selfish but loving?
Yeah, and I think he knows the mother-in-law's needs. So maybe that's something to put on the table and just ask him, like, okay, so we are moving far away. What are the things that, how do we make sure that we still keep in touch with your mother-in-law? How do you propose that you be able, because 90 miles away is quite far. You can't be going back and forth every day.
Yeah.
So does he intend on sleeping there for sometimes? Maybe, because I don't imagine doing that in one day. You can, but 2-3 hours by the time, and then you come back. That's exhausting.
Yeah,
so
but I think that 90 miles away is
far.
It's too far.
It is far.
She needs to reconsider that. Or
you don't know, but you don't know the reasons for moving. It might be that she has a job there and she's been offered work. We don't know the full context. Why are they moving?
Yeah.
Is it because of her that they're moving, or is it secret? You know what I mean? Like, is it because of work? Is it because he has a part-time job as well? So is it an online job?
Yeah.
How has he found a new job? Has she been promoted? All these things that you don't know. What's prompted the move?
Yeah.
Is it the area? Is it not safe? Do they feel like there's too much here? But obviously, it doesn't sound like he's not moving because of the pressure. In fact, he wants to be close to his mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And is the move necessary?
Yeah.
Can it be readjusted, or can you? But then, can there also be some boundaries and where you also feel that you are? Do you feel like you're not number one does she not feel like she's number one? Because sometimes he can be doing all of that, and as women, it's so easy to feel certain things and start feeling that he doesn't love me. But then again, you're like, can't be jealous, man. She's 85, like. And you kind of question yourself, and you're like, am I being too selfish? And you just keep quiet, because it's not like a friend, it's not like that kind of relationship. He's just being loving, and that's also what you want, because this also sounds like somebody who you would want to be your husband, so that, and that they would look after you should you become unwell. Yeah.
And it's, I think, here it's just communication, to be honest.
Yeah, I think an honest conversation, like you said. I think it sounds like it might be hard on both ends, but I think an honest conversation, because what he's doing is very admirable and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's really rare to find people who do that, like, let alone your own flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And let alone a son-in-law. So he sounds like a keeper for real. But I think it's definitely something you can communicate how you feel, and how maybe if it's not the church thing he prioritizes, how else can he show that he prioritizes you as well?
Yeah. So I think I think that's pretty much our advice. I hope our advice has come to a place where we've expressed our thoughts on it.
Yeah.
And where we can give the proper advice on this situation. We know our advice is mainly from us. We try to make it as biblical as possible. And we hope that if anybody's going through a situation like this, they're encouraged by that. And we're saying that the level of balance always needs to be in a relationship. That's the key. We need to be balanced in showing that one person is not neglected from another person.
Yeah.
And I think when parents start to get older, the dynamics of responsibility, it becomes a lot. And we see that also these are things that God also wants us to do. Because even like when we see like even in Timothy where it says about women who are widows and they should basically first seek help from their family before they burden the church. And if these people are actually doing something like that, this is something that we, as you said, is commendable. And I think she should also be encouraged by that because it shows that this man is indeed an honorable man. And is not only showing favoritism towards somebody who is only connected through an aspect of marriage, but also even her, he's also extended that when her father was not well.
Exactly.
And I think she should see that as a good thing, not as a way of trying to now take that away from him, but encourage him in the best possible way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all we have for today.
Yes.
And so thank you for listening to us. We are grateful for the support that you show towards us. Like we always say, like, subscribe, comment, and
share.
And until next time, thank you. And God
Bye
bless.
from us.
And bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.